to another episode of the Jarring Science Club. I'm your host, Brenda, and today we're going to learn more about matter and how you can sort or classify matter. For this experiment, you're going to need a large jar, you're going to need some water, and you're going to need a variety of little objects that are made of different materials and different colors so that you can classify and sort them. All right, let's get started. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about how you can tell if something is matter and then also how you can sort or classify matter. There's a bunch of different ways to do that, and we're going to explore some of those ways in today's activity. So today what we're doing is we're going to be looking at some different objects and determining if they're matter, and then we're going to sort them by different properties, and then we're going to learn how to explain the reason behind our classifications. We have this jar here, and we have a whole bunch of different objects. We've got some soap, a balloon, a little animal, a pom-pom, a car, just a variety of objects. Anything that has mass, which is similar to weight, and takes up space is matter. So every object in the world is matter. Matter is made up of much smaller particles called atoms, and they bind together to create the objects that we interact with. One of the ways that scientists sort items and figure out what things are alike and what things are different and to learn about them is to classify them, which is a different word for sorting. So the first test that we're going to do today is we're going to classify our items by whether they sink or float. So we're going to put our items into our jar here and find out if these pieces of matter sink or if they float. So first we're going to try this bar of soap. And it sinks. Here's a pom-pom. It floats. A balloon. Floats. A feather. Floats. A rock. Sinks. A fire truck. Sinks. A little toy animal. This is a bear. Sinks. Dinosaur. Sinks. And we get Daniel Tiger here. Floats. We also have this crystal. And it sinks. So what we can tell between these different materials is we can determine a little bit about their density or how much mass they have, because the objects with less mass are floating and the objects with more mass are sinking. And we know that these objects have less mass than water and these objects have more mass than water. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can classify items. We could classify them by color, we could classify them by shape, we could classify them by type of material. So let's go through and do another sort and see how we can sort these out. Let's sort by type of material. So this is a plastic. This is a plastic. This is a plastic. This is probably also plastic. This is a rock. This is a rock. This is made of mostly metal. This soap is made up of a variety of materials, so we'll put that in its own category. We've got a rubber balloon and a little furry pom-pom that belongs in its own section. So you can see our different categories here, and we can tell how the items are similar and how they're different based on how they're classified. So if we were to sort by color, we could sort these by cool colors and warm colors. So let's sort them that way. Here we've got our warm colors, and these are cooler colors over here, or we could do neutral colors. Then this purple could be in its own category. We can break it down even further. But those sorts of classifications are incredibly important. For these sorts of classifications are the first step to understanding the world through a scientific lens, because if you can't describe something, you can't tell what it's like and what it's not like, and you can't say why you've decided that it's a certain material or a certain object, or that it's matter or not, or if it's an object, or if you can't back up the claim that it's a gas or a solid or a liquid, then you aren't able to defend your position, and that statement is not true according to science. You have to be able to prove how you got to something and prove it multiple times over and over before that becomes a scientific fact. So go ahead and keep experimenting with sorting your pieces of matter in different ways. And go through the worksheets and do the worksheets for this lesson. Then you can come back and take the quiz. Here's the science. Today we learned about how scientists sort and classify matter. This is a very important part of the scientific process because without the ability to describe something and to sort something, we can't really learn more about it. Learning how to classify something and tell things apart from other things is one of the most fundamental parts of being a scientist. As you learned in your experiment today, there are a lot of ways to classify objects. You can sort them by size, by color, by texture, by type of thing, by material, by whether it's hard or smooth, by whether it's slippery or rough. There's a lot of ways to classify matter. We know that matter is something that occupies space and has mass. Matter comes in 3 different types: liquid, gas, and solid. Today we just worked with liquids and solids, but just know that gases, even though we often can't see them, are still matter because they take up space and they have mass, even though it's usually much less than physical objects. The most important lesson you need to remember from this lesson is that matter is something that takes up space. We can touch it, or might be able to touch it, and it has weight or mass. There are also 3 types of matter: gases, liquids, and solids. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to learn more about matter. That's it for today. See you next time.